Today I'm making a fun Halloween themed tote bag. I picked up one of these disappearing ink pens for this project, and yes, disappearing ink as an adult is just as great as it was when you were a kid. For the fabric, I hit up Old Time Pottery and scored this bolt for a sale of $7. That's a good deal. To make this bag bling a little more, I used ideogram.ai. It's a free website. It's an AI generator for creating images, and well, it did awesome. Here I typed in ghosts and you'll see those in the background, but it can also do text. So I'm showing you here that you can just type in a sign that says trick or treat and it will display that. It doesn't always nail all the words perfectly, but you hit generate enough times it will. If we go back and look at my account here, we can see all the past images that I've generated in the past while trying to make this bag, just coming up with cool ideas. The really neat part is say we find one of these images and we want to go ahead and remix it and create new images off of it, we can. So let's go ahead and select an image here, and then you'll notice the white remix button right there. If we select that, we can go ahead and hit generate again, and it'll create 4 new images off of that parent image. And it does a really good job. You can just keep hitting remix over and over if you don't find the one you like, but usually there's always one in there that, well, it itches the spot. It's time to sashay over to the laser cutter for some slow-mo action of this trick-or-treat sign that I created in Ideogram. This came out so nice. I know not everyone has a laser cutter, but if you do and you haven't tried fabric, give it a shot. It does a great job. Once done, it's time to pull off all of our pieces off of the laser cutter. We'll reuse those later. And for this is a Walmart $3 Halloween tablecloth. This thing is super duper cool, and I went ahead and laser cut it out. This will be the interior of the bag to give it a little more decoration. It's probably not good to smell this delicious smell of vinyl and laser, so I did throw on a respirator, but it's now time to move on as we need to throw down some 3M Super 77 to adhere these pieces together. And I do have to say, the Super 77 was so bad I could smell it through the respirator. But you let it dry and then stick the two together. Unlike contact cement, it does allow you to kind of lift up and readjust it a few times there. Overall, this did a good job, and just give it a healthy good spray and step out of the garage for like 30 minutes and come back. Overall, the ghost and the letters go on pretty smooth. Sometimes you get a little bump or a little hump in them, and you just kind of smooth them out. It's time for the lettering, and I thought this would be more difficult than the ghost, but actually the ghost being so large, it was actually harder to get it to lay flat, while these were much smaller and easier to stick in place. Over to the Singer sewing machine, where we're sewing our fabric and our vinyl Halloween tablecloth together. Once both sides of the bag are done, it's time to go ahead and make the very bottom of the bag. And I thought it'd be a great idea, being October and it's always wet, to go ahead and waterproof it a little more and make the very bottom of the bag vinyl as well. Go ahead and work on our ghost panel, and if you sew and don't have these clips, well, I highly suggest them. It does a great job of holding everything perfectly straight as you run it through the sewing machine. It's time to go ahead and start assembling our bag. To do this, we'll sew the bag inside out, and this will produce the best look for our seams later on. Here I have the bottom of the two sides sewn together, and here I'm now adding on the ghost. And then if we take a look here, this will be the final piece. This will actually be our trick-or-treat side. And if we pick up the bag, you'll notice that it starts to appear like a bag. Here in the final steps, I go ahead and reverse the bag, turn it inside out, and go ahead and sew up all these panels. And we're starting to look like a bag. Once done here, we just go ahead and turn it inside out, and here we have our bag. You can leave the bag as is, but it may not be as strong. To give it a little more strength and an even cooler look that helps it stand up, I'm switching to my Juki Industrial 1541, where I proceed to sew all the outer edges of this bag. The smaller Singer sewing machine can do only thin material and has struggled on thick stuff. While this Juki struggles with really thin material, it dominates with heavy leathers, heavy fabric, and these seams. If you can fit it under the walking for the Juki, it'll sew it. It has no problem with 8+ layers of fabric and perfect for these bags. So with that, this is why you see me switching back and forth and why it's beneficial to have two machines. To dress up this bag and cover up some of my, well, not so pretty stitches, I'm adding a top piece here, folded over to give a very nice clean edge and a more professional look. It's now time to give this little ghost sack some handles, and to do that, we start by cutting a piece about 26 inches long and about 4 inches thick. I then find dead center and fold on one side and sew it. Then repeat and sew the other side down. Now fold both sides together and I hit it with my industrial sewing machine for a little classier stitch. Next it's time to sew our handles on the bag. I like the spacing of the handles in the far corners as it gives the bag the best balance and look. Being my first project on the Juki, my X pattern stitches are far from pretty, but the machine does an excellent job with lots of power. And there you have it. A custom Halloween tote bag for those looking to outdo the kid next door trick-or-treating with a cheesy pillowcase. Or just a great bag to bling bling around to show off your holiday spirit and making skills. If you have an idea for a sewing machine video or have sewing tips for me, leave it in the comments below. If you like this video, well then subscribe or else you're going to miss my next crazy video. See you in the next one. Happy Halloween.